Karen, for being the co-host. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday book launch. I'm Malika Albrecht, and I am the founding editor of Redheaded Stepchild. Just a reminder, we will open up for submissions in August. So if you happen to have any rejected poems, we would love to see them. It's amazing to me how many amazing poets or poems, come back through the circle. And at some point, somebody told me that they were going to start a magazine called Bastards of Redheaded Stepchild, which was only going to look at poems that I had rejected. But actually, there would have been plenty of really good ones. I know. They didn't do it. And I've kind of secretly thought about doing it myself, but I'm like, I don't really need to run another magazine. Tonight, we are incredibly fortunate to be celebrating Ellen Stone's newest book from Mayapple Press. Everybody wants to keep the moon inside them. 5 years ago, we got to celebrate with Ellen. And so when I saw another book was out, we had such a blast that first time. I was like, would you consider coming back on? And she said, yes. I'm going to read a brief bio, and then I'm going to turn it over into the good hands of Ellen Stone. Ellen was born in Syracuse, New York, and grew up, and we got to see pictures, right, of the house. If I remember correctly, or Spring Hill in Pennsylvania, Appalachian Mountains, above the north branch of the Susquehanna River. Ellen now lives in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and she raised her 3 daughters with her husband, Roger Lauer. She taught special education, and that's one of the many reasons it has a special place in my heart, in Ann Arbor Public Schools from kindergarten to high school from 1986 until she retired in 2018. Ellen continues to advise a poetry club, which is so amazing, at the community high school where she taught for over 20 years. She is co-host for the Poetry Monthly series that we've been talking about, Skazat, and co-editor of the literary journal, Public School Poetry. Ellen's collection, What is in the Blood, was published in Mayapple Press, and that's when we got to, that was in 2020, that's when we got to celebrate. Her chapbook, The Solid Living World, won the 2013 Michigan Writers Cooperative Press Chapbook Contest. And this latest book, if you want to get it yourself, you can go directly to her website, ellenstone.org, and you can order the book there. Ellen, thank you so much. I'm going to turn it over to you. Yay.
There, am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm so grateful to all of you, and I'm trying to kind of keep myself in that space of gratefulness in this crazy, chaotic, kind of uncaring time. I feel like poetry is keeping me going and keeping me alive, and also June is a joyous month if you really think about it. June has Pride and it has Juneteenth, and in Michigan the strawberries are ripe, and I don't know, I think of June and school letting out and marriage. So in that light, I'm going to try to read poems that are not all sad. The book is for my mom, who died in 2022 at age 90, and she dealt with bipolar illness since she was in her late 30s. I now have children. My daughters are in their 30s, 2 of them. And so this book really is for all of them. This is called My Life as a Jelly Jar. When I was newly formed, I gleamed, cavorted with the air like some new foal out in the field, not knowing how to gather yet. I saw the berries, wild grapes, and yearned to pluck, but standing only yay high, I did not know what harvest was, nor needed it. As I grew old, I learned what being filled was like, and that was all I craved. Slick stew of fruit, its crimson purple hue, and me subsumed, as if ripeness began with me, that gloss. Now, all I want to do is reap. Take the sweet I muster, preserve it under quilted glass. But fervor in the kitchen, morning, clatter, a day is filled with lushness of girls, saucy, jamming. Space and corners overflow to make and keep, a mother's adage. Honeyed clamor, tidy shelf, eye the ferment, sniff the mash, contain it. Potatoes. The milky disc she handed me for supper's pot tasted like I thought the moon should, shining through the front yard pine, crisp when I bit it, but also watery with a touch of salt. Moons she put in our soup with milk and just the smallest lumps of fried salt pork, and later tiny pats of butter floated on the soup's warm top. Mom's potatoes, scrubbed and peeled, mashed, boiled, scalloped, fried, baked and hashed, knobby tubers we scooped each night from the big wooden bin stored down in our cold room that fed us all through raw, dark winters and long into spring. What grew me wise enough to know the moon would never stay put in our old pine, nor even inside me. Letter to the bedroom window after Tahara Mafi shatter me. I want to ask what it meant to be married to the moon. Did it make you wish to disappear until she shifted from wan to gleaming? Did she leave you cratered, emptied in her absence? I want to ask if you were loyal, what that meant in her sometimes dark moments. Were you steadfast to different versions of her face? Uncertain light streaming in you, bedroom window? You who thought the moon was your trusted companion, when instead you were alone, imperfect creation, waiting for her beam, rising full as a pond on the slim horizon, ready to rinse you who felt forsaken, clean, whole again. Instructions on leaving mother. In order to leave her, you must find her outside the kitchen window, pale, waning, where just days ago she was here, a perpetual street light beaming in, crown of hickory and oak framing her. Now she has bled again into daylight, dissolved into the gypsum bowl above, translucent, thin enough to puncture everything you thought you knew about fixtures, solidity, timepieces. Here you thought she was a wristwatch you could plan a day around, regular as an almanac, even with her phases. Now, mother as floater moon, alabaster searchlight over the tree line, suspended. Soon the sun denudes the sky, obscures her, but she has seeped outside now. Oxygen. Killing the fish. I don't suppose he thought about it much. The silver fish we caught, dumped in the plastic pail, their slip and curl and gasp when he poured them in the sink. But I looked on at his steadiness, how he took pliers to the skin after he cut a thin circle round the head and yanked it off like you undress a doll with clothes too tight. Likewise, he gutted them. His fish knife held mirrored scales in tiny patches on its shaft until he washed them off. The guts hauled to the garbage pile or buried underneath the beans. The fillets tossed in flour and laid out in a buttered pan for lunch. The fish were mild in their death and only spoke of pond and mud and all that time held in their cold green world. I ate them like a tiny prayer, or maybe less, as if I knew violence was part of every day, what I was given in my life. Girl of Prey. Still a girl, thin clad, asleep in a college dorm. Wolf stumbles through the door, wakes me, fumbling. Slight fawn under bracken cover, I bolt awake. What do you, who? I flutter like an owl stirred up in branches, meant for camouflage. Girl of prey, then, sprung from woodland coiled bough. Steel teeth the trap wolf sets with his false words. Oh, I thought you were. Do you know where? As if wolf does not leave me barred. Night's cage holding my saw-edged self. Instead of captive now, when light sinks down and love caresses, my falcon heart jolts swift. I unfold my wings, spread my talons wide. Funny, I usually do a lot of chatting in between, but I decided I'm just going to read poems tonight. This is called Hunting Season. On a day of bone picked clean, scavengers circling, worry rattling its deep hollow, this path to wander down or plod, even if I don't belong in open air. Leaf quilt, how woods build a room of gold, then paint it tawny or slick gray in late fall. Clearings, songbirds still or whistling through my chafing heart, softly waving phragmites. Off the small ridge, roots entwine like steps, and I pick my way down, alone except for the dog who halts now and then, pricks her velvet ears, which stand like little tents. Below, the breeze is damp off the farm pond. 3 fat swans float and dip. Their bottoms rise like silent boat hulls, plump and solid, while the heron skulks in the corner where she often waits, a sheath in shadow. I salute her as I do the white-bellied hawk, dangling a squirming small thing from her beak, the huntress who'll protect and keep me. So many of the poems in this book are mother-daughter poems, and I realized I had to add some for my husband, who's a central figure in my life. So this is called How I Learned to Love Kansas. I found Sajita, the arrow, in the August night that year, not knowing if I needed freedom or revenge. I watched the grasses, taller than me, swallow the sky, wished the Kaw River would ferry me somewhere. I emptied myself of everything I thought I wanted and waited to see what would fill me back up. It's hard to remember what the heart wants when it tugs like a jump rope. Sometimes you aren't paying attention. It's hard to remember what happened after I saw him, then tried to fall asleep in my sweltering summer bed. I should have known Kansas can change directions, the way thunderheads brood miles away, then spilled crazy like 1,000 lawn sprinklers, tipped and whirling, drenching eaves and windows, turning into car wash. He couldn't have known I wanted to go shoot pool again at that bar on 6th Street, see if I could beat him at Centipede. Watch the way his mouth curved into the smoky light when he laughed, the steady move of his hands on the cue. I was not sure how to fill my time, preparing the ground, planting fall peas in sod along the back chain link fence. In the future, there will be days I take for granted. In the future, seasons will slide by like the river. What I didn't know is that this is how a life can start. What I didn't know is that I would not be alone. I stood on the edge of the Flint Hills and walked into its swales until I felt like coming home. And then this is a tiny poem that actually was on my wedding invitation. It's called August. August falls on a carpet of hay, waist high, corn above our heads, roadside elderberry ripening steadily, mourning doves hoot from the roof, lush thoughts overtake my pragmatic self. We should marry before the winter comes. And there's a definite shift in this book from sort of my early life to my life as a mother myself. This is called To Mother is a Strange Equation. To mother is a strange equation, is to be present, to present your body wholly to something other than work, pleasure, sensation, instead a creation begun, unseen, the cellular hatching in blood-deep crevice, a being spun fresh, knotted, gossamer thin, you don't feel its stirring. To want to write or dwell in moments too tenuous, so attenuated, long nights fretting full of ponder, not focus on others, instead self preservation for what came next, for which there is no preparation. Time, a false notion. To mother, this new gambit, a joint ascent, off kilter, odd route or manner, a state of being, finding your self in, then rearranging your whole body skin. This you plus one, no memory. What is before this? Only now. Small jar. You came in spring, reluctant to leave your container home, strange fluttering. I first thought you were a berry nub, not made from wild limbs and galloped blood, glint I knew from sawtooth leaves and dapple. Tiny space held your heft, blown into room, filled me like a bowl until I overflowed with fruit, sweet enough to haul a basket. Woven straw under an April moon. Promise, like a harvest meant to come. I closed my eyes. Summer hovered down the road. My work, the hardest work I'd yet do. Let you go and keep the gleam of you. Restoration. Here, clapboard houses spurt from cracking flagstone. Our daughters' songs peal through the subdivision. In the woods, shadowy berries just below the school. We wonder where the blue needle dragonflies come from. Was there a buried creek waterway? We buy a blow-up pool, scatter sidewalk chalk like chaff. Watch how the sun climbs. I have your limbs around me now. The children are sleeping in their singing beds. Yesterday, a spade turned over sod. So much gravel and clay discarded in the seeking. Maybe we are all searching. But there, 3 striped marbles, twirled moons all in a row, laid there by some small child who believed in Martians, the way a tiny turquoise egg lands whole on hard concrete. Snow, the letting go. Today, the snow is wandering over the backyard gate, fleeting, aimless as school out in June, forgetting its purpose. This is the secret of adolescence. It fills space completely, like snow. When you leave it, you forget. But here and now, it's called drifting, a blizzard of momentary. What are you doing right now? Each thought joining onto the next. How snow caves form. Aren't they the best insulation? The igloo of my daughter's mind. What room I can find her in, the place she calls hers, not mine. I always thought the bricks were made of mud or clay, not river current, able to freeze over, but always flowing underneath. No wonder I am always looking out windows, measuring snow, wanting the covering entirely, however temporary. Wolf Moon over M14. A rush of trucks waterfalls the morning with a roar like whitewater rapids. Meanwhile, the moon's gaze, dogged through trees, limbs rooted in naked sky. Once I heard coyotes call in Saginaw, knew that frigid grip of howl and yip, opened raw, echoed rounds. Here the wolf moon sticks fast over snowy roofs of sleeping houses. I wonder what our yonder has become, why we still hold on to this badge of yellow gold in early air, while we keen to hear something calling us, yearning over the ridge, even if we know there's really nowhere left to go. And this is my last poem. Her last breath swishes grass. Here we are in the rye again, tall grain above our heads, matted down to these nests where we carve out space for our tiny bodies' homes, calling her out there near the back garden to join us. And she comes, of course, our young mother, drying her hands carefully, leaving the hot rinse water to let us show her what we have done, what we have created for her, small worlds, green and round. We say, let's have egg sandwiches and milky tea out here when she visits, pretend to be her, laugh light that spill rushes the way ditch water flows down the bank below our stucco house, churning, insistent and overflowing from cornfield on its long way to river. Thank you.
Was just gorgeous. If y'all want to unmute and just, yeah. Oh, Diane, I love that you and David have the hearts going. That looks gorgeous. Yes. Oh, Shamala. Ellen, you're gonna really enjoy, I think, reading the chat section, but there was so much lushness and beauty in these poems, even as you traverse difficult topics. And I just want to say, boy, how well done. Just beautiful.
Thank you.
Um,
That means a lot, especially coming from poets. I think when you hear poets talk about your work, because they know they know what it takes.
Yes, well, and when you see how many people, lines that you wrote, we all like immediately repeated, then you'll know, multiple people in this room were going, "Holy cow, that's stunning. That's gorgeous language," or "This image really holds me." Just beautiful. Do people have specific questions for Ellen about this book, any particular poem, or how this collection came about?
Not a
Yes.
question, but just wanted to express appreciation for the winding together of the life of the soul and of nature around the person, so that it's not two separate things. The resonance is beautifully done. And these are not spaces that I know intimately, but I could feel them. And that's, thank you. You took us there.
I want to mention to Ellen that I so admired the intimacy that she interwoven through her work, including, I mean, it wasn't specifically attended or designed to speak about one thing. It was a bunch of things, and her experience and her husband and her children and the experiences with them. The inclusiveness was very much appreciated by me. You move me, Ellen. Thank you so much.
Well, that's beautifully said.
I
I
wasn't,
think both of y'all are.
I wasn't feeling
Sorry.
emotional during the reading, but I feel emotional now. Like because those are actually, those things are really important to me. It's really important to me to take you to the place that I was, because when I write these poems, I'm always in a very specific place. I'm absolutely there. And so the idea that I could weave who I am and the spirit of what's going on with me into a poem involving that place is hugely important. And then to bring my whatever emotion I'm feeling to you through words on a page, that's what poetry is to me. So that I've accomplished what I've wanted to accomplish. So that's makes me want to cry. That's really
Oh, that's good. That's good. I think like what people are starting, the term I'm hearing is organic. There's something very organic about the work that you do, that just feels like, yes, it's there's an ease to how you craft your work. And so I'm not surprised that you have a guiding desire and that it's being fulfilled and that other people are feeling deeply held and it resonates and brought to these places.
It's not nature as metaphor. It's not nature being made use of. It's you're feeling your feelings, you're feeling the space,
Yeah.
both at the same time. And you give us that very honestly.
Mm.
Yeah, I just felt such reverence for in the words. It's like every poem you just presented with such care and reverence and understanding that it just like it went into my soul. I think it's yeah, it's just really special.
I will say that growing up in a very rural area, my siblings and I often say this, that we experienced a lot of tragedy because we lost our mother when I was 10. She just like literally disappeared into bed and stayed there for like really the rest of my childhood, on and off. She was up. But somehow the fact that we had the land and we also had grandparents and my father. And so, but the land was like a person. The land held us as well as the people. And there was something so powerful about that it makes me so sad that not everybody gets to feel that, because it's really seriously, there's a spirituality to the land.
Yeah.
I live in Brooklyn. How can you feel part of the land in Brooklyn? Goddamn Brooklyn.
I know.
No. To be honest, I love poems of place. And I love Brooklyn poems. And the fact that Walt Whitman and Hart Crane and Arthur Miller and all these great poets came from here or lived here, it is very special. I lived in the neighborhood where Walt Whitman worked. I mean, I walked those streets and, so I was joking about it, but there is something about the rural land that when I read it, that I feel part of it too. Yeah.
And also, like, I think the phrase that struck me was the land is a person. And that's talking about an actual relationship. And Shamala was pointing out, of course, we've seen nature used in ways that are for metaphor only, and there's not like a lot of weight in there. I mean, it's kind of like a glass. It matters what you put in there, And so I think that connection is what we're responding to, that relationship that Ellen has. And that what you're saying, Cindy, again, is it's about that, that depth of a relationship. relationships can be transactional, meaning that, there's not a lot of depth of spirit. But when you have a deeply moving relationship that's reciprocal, then I think that's what we're feeling, that sense of spirituality, that sense of depth. It's just, of depth. It's just gorgeous. Yeah. Somebody wrote that reading inspired me. Now I want to write gorgeous lines too. Thank you, Kelly. That's a fabulous way to put it.
I also want to hear you read. So I don't want to stop talking about me right now, and I want to hear your poems.
We can move on, but I'm going to double check. Does anybody have a question or something that they really wanted to pass along to Ellen?
Well, I just have a quick question. How do you get yourself to that place in your process where you can do this and be so pure and honest in a moment? Do you have a process to get you there? Because that's a really hard thing to do, and you do it masterfully.
I didn't know that I needed to write these poems for a very long time. And I do think, like, when I was first writing poems in my 20s and my 30s, I was not writing these poems. I was writing these poems when I had children. And I was writing these poems when I was grappling with what my mother must have been grappling with. And it was a matter of life and death, like thinking, how the hell did she do it? How did she raise kids when she was trying to keep herself together? And so, it was after therapy, and it was after my own grappling with the emotional stuff that's in the poem. And then the poems became their own journey. So I think, I don't know how to answer that question. I think it took me a long time to figure out what I needed to write about. And once I figured it out, then there I was.
Right.
I was doing it based on what I had lived through.
Right.
Good question about process and how there is a journey sometimes to even coming to the place of writing about certain things. I did want to circle back to something Regina said, because I think this is very important. Regina, do you mind speaking it aloud?
Sure. I was just saying that, this discussion, of land really kind of inciting in me, at least this feeling, that's always kind of in this low level hum lately of people that don't have anywhere to go, that are landless, and how, many of us are able to speak on the character of the place we're in, and feel some ownership of it. But there are these people now who, I don't know, it's just, and it's nothing about the poem is gorgeous. It's just so interesting how time can add a layer to poetry that you don't even like really think about. I think about things, for example, that I wrote in the past, sometimes not even knowing quite why I was writing them, or I was thinking I was writing them for one reason or to show one thing, and then something happens in time, and it adds another layer. Your poetry is just beautiful and very relevant.
I want to say something about that, though, because the land was one thing when I was a child. Now I go back there and I think, whose land was this? Which native people did we throw off this land? And which people who were first here who couldn't afford to stay here, or the people there who don't have land. So I now have a whole different sense of what it all means. And so many people who had land and lost their land, or sold their land for the wrong reasons, too cheaply to somebody else, and should have kept the land. I mean, that's a whole nother.
Yeah, exactly. And then people who have left their homelands because they had to and immigrated somewhere, and then are treated horribly. I mean, people, there's a whole actual field in psychology, and it's kind of like the psychology of geography. And we crave we crave that early experience of what was safe and familiar. Whether you grew up in the mountains or on the plains is a very different experience.
I'm told
It's
the privilege of being a landowner, and I think that that's something to write about too.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and time.
Yes, and I think Regina, when you hear somebody write so passionately and so beautifully about their connection with the land, of course, we grieve that some people don't have that. And that's essentially what Ellen was saying at the beginning. I think that other people that didn't have this experience, it's sad. It's because for you that land was an actual person. There was a relationship. There was a nurturing connection to it too. And I think that to know people don't have that experience, there is grief, there is loss. It's fair to say. And I love that poetry is allowed to say it all,
Absolutely.
to give voice to so many aspects of everything that's multifaceted, to embrace all of it. And that's a big container, right? That's a big ask. Thank y'all so very much. Wow, I really enjoyed that discussion. We're gonna say thank you, Ellen, again, and we're heading into open mic. If I missed anybody for open mic, please, send me a message and I will add you. I have Cal, Julio, Christy, Karen, Diane, Regina, Shamala, Bob, Cindy, Kelly, and Diana. And if I miss somebody who'd like to read, just say something to me. So Cal, we'll start with you.
Okay. I did a fair bit of reading on the subject of chaos at some point, and I've written a number of poems on that theme. This one's called Chaos 2I. Oak branches cast shadows on grass while dew rises as mist. A twister in Topeka leaps from a void like a new universe out of a point invisible, being everywhere at once. A phase transition, like water boiling on the stove, ice melting in Greenland, paper up in smoke on Wall Street, or a chemical stew and sun bolt struck, deciding to reproduce. The logic beyond perception in clouds on top of clouds. Did God invent chaos to give himself an excuse for the evil in what he made? Our shadow world and the smoky firelight of this cave. Same logic that prevents prediction of weather and regulates an epidemic, the loss of lift by a wing, or a population heading for extinction, is that which drives evolution. How leaves seek light and capillaries deliver blood, the pulsing heart, refreshing every vein, not missing one cell. Stay awake when awake, but write your dreams quick before they disappear. The imaginary math that makes coherent images of chaos in the same dimension we go to in sleep, where dreams arise and life itself, where scientists think like poets, where yesterday's madman is today's visionary, and vice versa. That is it.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Where scientists think like poets. I was plotting trying to write that. Make sure you check the chat section, Cal.
Thought that would be sort of a fun, juxtaposition.
Julio?
I want to thank Malika for making this all happen. It's been a while since I've been around, and it's nice to see you all. I'm compelled to share this with you. It's called Disregarding the Suicide of Gray Birds. Before cavalcades of upgrades, avatars graven image in statuettes and hanging idols, gray birds soared under clouds, to the limbs, to the nests, in continuous flight, through the intonation of melodies, enrapturing the heavens, introducing the sky to the imperfect firmament below. In partnership, we witnessed elegance, grace, accepted their generosity in song, purpose, and passion. Those were remarkable days, a collection of memories, satiated with pure and effortless song, a glorification through the air, soared in skies with contentment born of harmony, uplifted in the certainty of colors, luminescent in the heavens. The rain fell like any other day, through feathers glistening and spontaneous passages. No one noticed threatening clouds rising over the slate gray sky. A murky haze suffocated the air. Monotony and predictability were projected in firmaments obscured by noise. In dreary, desolate days and shadows, unconditional structure replaced renewal of song. Flight became tiresome and a frightening decadence through widening abyss, passed in the air without vision, familiarity, or understanding. And the suffering of one is not the prerequisite limitation of this terrible day, but developed and shared in violent abandonment. These were the pages from the chronicle of the suicide of gray birds and the slander of nature. We assess vacancies of discord that have invaded our clouds, darkened our world, and become the authors and witnesses of devastation. Observe these charcoaled, twisted flights of whim. The futility of conflict assaults our susceptible spirits, suggest we concede, surrender in futility to this unbearable constriction, attacking our vulnerable hearts. Do not despair, my friends. Inside my gray feathers and yours live brilliant, sparkling colors that dwell within our spirits, bequests from those gray birds of old, whose legacy was passion in time and growth to lift us beyond our grasp. We know the multicolored song, and we will sing it, even if we are the only birds in the woods. And peace. Thank you.
Fabulous. Check out the chat section. Yeah, I love this open mic. Chrissy, we're coming to you.
Okay. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this piece, I'm going lighter tonight, and I'm gonna read something humorous. The ones of you who know me know that I have talked about how you need to be careful on the internet before. This is another example of that, and this is a true story, but I've changed the names to protect the guilty. This is just published in Mid-Atlantic Review, highlighting disabled voices. It's titled, "Until Now, I've Never Written a Poem That Had to Be Redacted." What happened? I ordered shower chair wheels from a service rep named Marta. On back order, my wheels were canceled, called back, and reordered, front to left, right to back. That's what the invoice should have said. Instead, my inbox opened to a redacted here county summons in a West Coast redacted here state court by redacted here officials for redacted here offenses. Failure to appear would result in an arrest to take place at a redacted here location. When I rang the only number in sight, Marta answered, and my recorded findings unwittingly caused Marta to audibly redact her own chewing gum. Only then did recognition pierce my unheard thoughts. Marta's unauthorized at work interweb interest attached themselves to my en route wheels, and her job spun on the line between hushed recoil and what could not be rescinded. Thank you.
I'm just gonna say, hell yeah, that's just fabulous. Ah, yeah. Oh, see, guys, this is why it's so good. Karen, coming to you.
All right. I hate to follow that. I love that poem so much, Christy. Poor Marta. Okay, y'all. This is a poem that I wrote in response to an oracle card. So I'll just share the card with you while I'm reading it. This is from the Urban Crow Oracle deck by M.J. Cullinane. Anyway, I love to pull a card and just see where it takes me. So this is where this card took me. When the Urban Crow suggests observation, pause into the still, the momentary stillness, the continuing still, the quiet yourself into pause still. Consider, sense, naked branches reaching up, snow, dust, drifting, I, intimately settling. The Urban Crow knows, look, then see, listen, then hear, notice, then be in observation. Be present. All past is holy, is golden, is truth. Spider weaves silver silk into web, welcomes fly, welcomes ant into rapture, cocoons them in silk and spins them into circle of life. She will take fly and ant as sustenance, even as crow is observing, is being in reverence of these weavings together of these lives, even as spider and crow both know that spider may very well serve as crow's sustenance, even though somewhat slightly, and web will eventually release even the most exquisitely intricate weavings of its silver threads.
Damn, girl, I think we
Crow
need a
poem.
copy of that. That has some things that we might need for living.
Yes,
Oh.
please. Yes, please.
Ah, so good. Diane, we're so excited and I'm so glad you're here. We got you next. Perfect.
All right. I'll just tell you, Jiddu means grandfather in Arabic. So this is called Bewildering Flights of the Soul. Aunt Samira tells the story. Jiddu 95, able-bodied, sharp of mind, watching his grown children plant tomatoes. He instructs 2 feet apart, shares the wisdom of knowing how much earth belongs to each root. After dinner, Jiddu bathes, dresses in fresh clothes, then requests a cup of anise tea and 2 Lebanese cookies. He sips the tea, savors the buttery, date-filled marmalade before setting down his cup and calling for his wife to tell her he is dying. He can feel his soul rise, leaving his body. His hands, deliberate, trace a path from his feet slowly up his legs, mapping the sensation of his soul's departure as if reading Braille inscribed on the inside of his skin. His wife summons the children. They gather, hold his hands as he narrates his fading until his grip loosens and his body stills. I carry this story like a lantern against the hush of everything I've lost. What does it take to feel the soul slip the body's grip, carrying not just what we've planted and nurtured, but also what we've buried? That deep intuition, separate yet inseparable, rising effortlessly like steam from a cup of tea.
Wow, just gorgeous. And again, y'all are really bringing these these poems that are just dense and complex with layers, but so beautifully written, it's hard not to get swept up in them. Yeah, please look at the chat section, everybody that has read. I don't want you to miss people's comments. Thank you. Regina, you're next.
All right. So I started with one, you know how you choose your one, and then Julia took me in another direction. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly all your life. Bird. I wish I could write about a bird being just a bird, gleaming black, feathered and unfettered, powerfully pulling and pecking, flying and finding food from on high, eyes sharp and scanning, soaring above ground, trees, sea. But it is easy, too easy, to fall into the fray when shifting currents refuse to still, and the earth opens the ground to swallow her whole, her song sticking in and stinging her throat. And just like that, the bird becomes a woman flying into a storm, not of her making, through the blustery winds, through dark clouds, straight into the dead of night.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I need to see that poem too. Oh, yeah. Julia, will you
I
say
was
your
I was compelled
comment?
to put a note in for Regina because of what she said. It's right in there.
I want you to read it because I want everybody to hear this. I think a lot of us relate.
I have this fortunate habit. When Regina reads, I begin to glow and transform to a higher level. Regina,
I
you
have,
keep on doing this to me.
I have a question for Regina.
Yes.
Do you have a poem, happen to have a poem that's going to be published in the Titanic
I do.
anthology? Because I'm copy editing it, and I saw you have Regina Y.C. Garcia. I wasn't sure if
Yes.
it's you, but I looked you up and I saw your picture, and it's a beautiful one. It's an amazing poem, and yeah, I'm going through I'm working with Susanna Case and Margot and Sandra.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
And you should be. It's a gorgeous anthology. I'm having fun reading it. I'm not having fun copy editing it. As Cal will.
That's really awesome.
But yeah, I'm
I
so
love
glad
that.
to meet you.
When you read it, did you think of Regina? Is that how, like, was there something? Because I mean, I do think we know each other well enough now that we would recognize one another's words, in essence.
It sounded familiar, and I did note it in my head when I was reading the poem. It's really a gorgeous poem.
I love that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And moving on to another one of our dear friends, Shamala, I have you next.
I think if I read something serious now, I don't know if anyone else will cry, but I will. So this is frivolous. It's from a prompt that I used at Monday Night Poetry this past Monday. And I don't know how many of you are Babylon 5 fans, but there's a character, a wizard, Galen, in Babylon 5. And whenever he meets another major character, he asks this question. So this is the epigraph. The poem is called Sensible Desires. Epigraph, Galen in Babylon 5. What do you want? Where are you going? Who do you serve? And who do you trust? I want world peace, with equity and no one left out. Ice cream without calories, preferably chocolate, preferably rich, and accompanied by espresso, good scotch, although bourbon, vodka, and champagne might be acceptable in some circumstances. I want also laksa, shrimp head broth rich with fiery spices and coconut milk, laden with noodles, tofu puffs, fish balls, chicken, eggplant, okra, sprouts, barbecued duck. I've lost my thread contemplating food. It's reliable pleasure, you see. I trust so little else. I'm not sure I particularly trust myself or know myself enough to trust, but this is now. At 19, though, I knew myself perfectly, trusted myself perfectly, had instincts that I was certain, if followed, would fulfill me perfectly, while also being of perfect service to God, the world, and my fellow beings. Not necessarily in that order, but that comprehensively. Such comfortable theories, blissful state of mind and conscience, of body too. A time where 2 large banana splits in one lunch upset my complacent waistline, also 19 inches, that is, not at all. I wonder now that world peace and equity, that I then thought perfectly possible and not so very distant, seem quite unlikely, if perhaps what I should want instead, or as anodyne, is to recover that blissful, if uninformed, trust. Also that 19-inch waist. Anyone for laksa, chocolate, and scotch?
Kind of frivolous poem, but I enjoyed it thoroughly, and I think there was a lot of depth to it. I want you to check out the comments. My favorite one was Christy. She's like, yes to all that except for tofu. Oh, so good. And the food, yes, it was just fabulous. I felt very much like in a home, a very specific home. Bob, I have you next.
Okay. Hi, folks.
Hey.
The scene. One is able to see what can be seen. The difference always how it is interpreted. The man or woman, also animals that have sprung from the forest. Their calls confused with the language the bears or birds might use if suddenly startled.
Y'all are bringing some fabulous poems. Oh, that's just, it really stopped me in my tracks, the scene. And then it started making me think about what's unseen or how we feel things. I am loving this open mic. I may have to watch this one over again just to see if I feel
Thank
like your
you.
poems are talking to each other. I just haven't understood how yet. I am interested. Cindy, I have you next. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks.
Okay. I'm torn between reading 2 political haiku or a poem I wrote in my 20s, and I think I'll go with the old poem. And since I think I was about 25 when I wrote this, and of course that was 10 years ago. It's called Ars Poetica, and I think most of you know an Ars Poetica is sort of about process, as Malika likes to talk about. And I call it one of my juvenile poems. It was published in Wednesday's Child, my very first chapbook. Ars Poetica. From needles of unthreaded knots, a scissored sentence in midair motion. From sandless deserts of wind-blown words, a salty sea of sadness. From this tangled tongue of untamed tangents, I turn unplowed fields of fragment into fertile ground. That's how to write a poem.
That. Yeah. Karen said, Cindy, well, you had me at from needles of unthreaded knots. But I still hear you. I mean, that has your voice. It's
I
a
know.
lovely. I would recognize that.
Alliteration. Yeah,
The play on words, but also the bright twist of turns that you take. I mean, the ones that are just like, oh, didn't see that. It's just fabulous. Yep, Dylan Thomas vibes. Thanks, Hannah. That was a great way to say it.
thank you.
I have Kelly, Diana, and Hannah as our next 3 readers. So Kelly.
Hi.
Yep.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Congratulations, Ellen. Um, Mine is called After Sappho. Speaking of desire, what shall I call the drumming of my heart? Sweet racing violets, dream dialogue with blossoms, Artemis holding a goblet filled with the finest sand, the honored child, the winged lady, the sweet-smelling grass. I've never seen them. The road has loosened my skin like a cloak, and all the gods in my head lament this poverty of song, trapped as they are in their separate dungeons. When I feed them, they sometimes say, you shall know love, but not until your tongue sheds its bitter robe.
I'm trying to unmute. Oh, you caught me on that one. That is fabulous. Don't miss the comments. There's so much that like stuck out. What shall I call the drumming of my heart? Yeah. And when I feed them, they sometimes, that was fabulous. Thank you, Kelly. I'm glad you were here. I have Diana next. There we go. I see you. Make sure you unmute. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. Ellen, I want to congratulate you on your book. The reading was just gorgeous. And thanks for everybody who's read. It's so wonderful to see this community of many of you I don't know, and it's just been a delight to hear you read and to see some old friends too and to hear them read. This is a poem called Winter Blue. She looks up at me from the center of what appears to be a faultless circle. From memory of a photo I've now misplaced. My youngest aunt, the one I loved most, seated on the floor in a dress my mother made, an ice blue taffeta swirl. Those early years are muted as Whistler landscapes. Unless you spend time with them, you see nothing. She was never there before school when I stood at the kitchen window, studied the stark outlines of trees, Shetland pony, head down, slowly moving around the field, an ocean of blue, when I ran coatless, like any winter child, out the door, across gravel with an apple my mother had placed in the palm of my hand. Same blue at twilight when my aunt stood at that window, arms crossed, mother at the chipped enamel sink, me skating on the backyard rink, rhythmic breath and blades cutting a path at the perimeter, believing that somehow I could keep the world spinning, until the sisters found a way to extinguish static charges that sparked between them. I blinked and they were gone. I aimed my camera at the bruised sky, knowing a photo will never do it justice. I spent years squinting at what was always there, and now finally see two mothers curling around one daughter, me.
Wow.
Again,
you.
I'm struggling with the unmute because I was trying to write. I spent years and I was like, okay, I'm just going to stop. Diana, fabulous. Oh, I was swept up. And the winter child, I don't know why that really resonated. And I saw a lot of other people that resonated as well. Yeah, achingly beautiful and heartfelt. That's the way to say it, Cindy. Thank you. Read the comments, Diana. Don't miss them. And our last reader for tonight is Hannah. And Hannah, thank you for graciously coming back through. Was trying to get in and didn't put a last name. And I was saying in the chat section, make sure you add a last name. She said, I can't even reply to you in the chat section. So thanks for hanging in there, Hannah.
No worries. I'm glad to be here. Can y'all hear me okay? Okay. Oh, hang on. The robot vacuum has very inopportune timing, but is a gift that I am very grateful for. So, my body, a delta, reinscribed, the hurricane flood digging my belly, thighs, silver, lavender, ripples like the backs of fish. Estuarial silt, redrawing the map. How I, a riverbed, became meal, heartbeat, home. Became mother of millions, spilling beyond myself. Oh, my baby, you team and me, leave other dreams backwater, stagnant. only the dragonflies and the green water waiting for the next flood.
So gorgeous.
Wow.
Thank you. Yep. Hi. I love the images of how like Aya Riverbed became meal, heartbeat, home. Fabulous. Well, once again, guys, you brought the fire. And Ellen, thank you so much for letting us celebrate this book too.
Thank you
Such
for
a
having me.
gorgeous gift.
This was some
Thank you.
reading.
We'd love to see
Thank
some of you at Skazat. So please, 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 you're all invited.
Awesome.
I got
Everybody
you, Ellen.
remember.
I want
I-
more to read
I
it.
wanted to tell everyone, do you know how to save the chat? Because if you don't,
I-
if you
I'm
up to
having
the right,
trouble copying it. I'd love to know how to save it.
well, you go up to the right where it says book launch, with Ellen Stone.
Yeah.
And there's 3 dots. You click on those 3 dots. And when you click on the 3 dots, it'll say save chat.
Yeah.
Click on that and you'll save everything written about all us criminals.
I've seen the 3 dots up there, but right now the 3 dots are not there.
Well, that's bizarre.
Maybe your
Yeah,
settings,
it
Cal.
is.
I can see them.
Huh?
Yeah, I always have a copy of it. So if any, and Cal
Oh.
has done this in the past. Cal has just
Yeah.
sent a message and I'll be glad to send it to you if you have trouble saving it and you
Yeah,
want
I
to see.
appreciate it. It's very, I don't know, it's just hard with a
No worries.
touchpad,
No
or
worries.
whatever it is, but
I'm sorry.
it doesn't copy.
No, I think it's a great tip, and I wish it worked. But if it's not, if you can save
Thank
it,
you.
that's great. But if for some reason you really wanted it and you weren't able to, just reach out to me via Facebook or if you have my email.
Okay.
It's just Malika@Albrecht@gmail. It was great to be in y'all's good
Thank you.
company.
Ellen, can
Thank
we
y'all
get
so
signed
much.
Thank
copies?
you.
Good to see y'all.
Oh, good question. Can we get signed copies, Ellen, is what Christy just asked. Oh,
You
you're
muted
muted.
it.
If you message me through my website,
Yeah.
just contacting, I can, and give me an address, I will send a copy to you and we can work out the payment that way.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sign it. So
Ellenstone.org.
Ellenstone.org.
Just a reminder.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you. That was
coming.
wonderful. Thank you,
Good night,
Ellen.
all.
Yeah.